This week we saw this aces and eights thing kind of come to a head after weeks of beatdowns and threats and ominous teases. And with this being the big angle that had been built up for a while, it meant that other things, specifically Austin Aries, were even more in the background than usual. We didn't really get any answers, but there was a lot of escalation, so at least this angle is progressing somewhere. Whether it's somewhere good or somewhere that's going to make me want to shove the business end of Fourth Dimension Fool Killer's shotgun in my mouth remains to be seen. I'm ready when you are. Yeah. Thanks. We start off with Sting leading a whole bunch of guys to the ring, and he talks about how the aces and eights have some payback coming to them, so get ready, motherfuckers, because it's going to get loud. My immediate reaction to this was yelling at Sting to shut the fuck up and give the mic to the world champion. Of course, that didn't happen. Two of the aces and eights showed up, and the big crowd of babyfaces gang up on them, in rather heelish fashion if I'm being honest, but they were just decoys delivering a message that it's going to be a long damn night for everyone. Great segment. The video of the aces and eights arriving was a nice touch, even if it did feel kind of overproduced if they're going for a reality-style feel here, and it set up a great tease for the rest of the night. If you take out the part with Sting hogging the spotlight that should belong to Austin Aries, I like this a lot. Tessmacher challenges Tara to a match, and she's got something she wants to prove to herself, that she can beat her mentor, her best friend, the woman who taught her everything. So her and Tara have a match. I expected this to be short, and it was. It didn't give away very much. But they're setting up something here because Tara wins, but Tessmacher was hesitant and holding back, which the announcers called attention to. Tessmacher losing right after she won the title back did bother me, but if they're starting a program here and giving Tessmacher an obstacle to overcome, then Tara kind of had to win the first match. It's just a shame that it happened right after that bullshit with Madison Rayne. And I like this idea a lot. I was expecting them to do something like this, actually. Tara has grounds for a title shot now, and I expect that will lead to Bound for Glory. A student versus teacher angle is one of the more interesting things they can do with the Tessmacher character and the Knockout division right now, so I'm all for it. I think that match makes a lot of sense. Then we had a Bound for Glory series match. Three guys were still set to face the Pope, but he's injured now, so they have a triple threat. That makes sense. But this match... oh, Lord.
Destination? Horror.
To spare myself a lot of agony, I was going to outsource this one to Fool Killer from 24 hours ago, but I had to put him on suicide watch, so it's up to me to get through this one. AJ Styles, Bob Van Dam, Robbie E.
Clearly, one of these superstars is not like the others.
AJ and Van Dam worked hard here. Minus that botched inverted DDT spot, they were fine. I'm sorry, but Robbie E did absolutely fucking nothing in this match. Big chunks of it involved him being taken out of the action altogether because they know he can't wrestle at a decent pace to save his life. The parts when he was on the offense, he's just doing the same old boring crap he does in every other match he has. Nothing fancy, a lot of really simple basic stuff because he's not talented enough to do anything impressive. A whole lot of stalling. Of course he has to break out the rest hold of doom again because even though he's in a match with two of the top guys in the company, he still can't be bothered to bust his ass for a few minutes. No, that would require actually working hard. And Robbie doesn't do that because he's a lazy sack of shit. I swear, this Joker has got to be one of the laziest workers of this era signed to a major company that I've seen, and he proves it in every single fucking match.
Yet again, I am standing before another ignoramus.
And then, oh my fucking God, and then, instead of having this loser eat the pin like the scrub that he is, he actually goes over in this match pinning Van Dam.
What the fuck?
Did I fall into the fucking Twilight Zone here? Van Dam hates jobbing to people. He hardly ever jobs to the top stars, much less glorified enhancement talent. He wouldn't put over Magnus on TV or pay-per-view, and Magnus is a bright young star in the making with a real future. But when they ask him to lie down for this no-talent jackass, suddenly, now, No Job Rob has left the building? What the fuck is going on?
This whole show is ridiculous!
Van Dam is diminished for having actually lost a match to this ass clown. Robbie is still dead last in the BFG series, and that ain't changing at this point. So essentially, nothing was accomplished here aside from making me want to slit my wrists. Thanks a fucking lot.
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
Speaking of things that give me suicidal urges, Rob Terry had a match. Maybe I should take a glass half full approach with this one. Hardy calls him out, and Jeff did need to get his heat back on this idiot, and I guess better it happened here than on pay-per-view. Terry botches a lot less since he's been in OVW, but he's still wrestling in slow motion. So basically, he's gone from god-awful to just plain boring. Thankfully, the match is brief. Hardy wins, thank Christ. May this be the last time they waste Hardy's time with this garbage. Moving on. The hour main event segment was devoted to the Claire Lynch storyline, and apparently there was some kind of issue with the actress, so they had to wrap this angle up here regardless of what the original plan was. So AJ has the results of the paternity test. He says he's sorry for putting his family and his fans through all this crap. Personally, I was hoping we'd get an apology from the writers, but I guess this was as close as we're gonna get. The World Tag Team Champions of the World come out, and Kaz and Daniels spend several minutes saying that AJ is the scum of the earth. Nothing we haven't heard before from them, really. It's feeling pretty repetitive and kind of like they're stalling, which they basically were. Then Claire Lynch's lawyer comes out. And before you get your hopes up, it wasn't Joseph Park or Veda Scott. It was the bad kind of lawyer.
No, no, no.
So the lawyer reads a statement from Claire Lynch, and long story short, they roofied AJ's drink, there was never any pregnancy, it was all just a scam to ruin AJ's reputation. No. Really? So it's pretty much what we were all predicting months ago. The heels are exposed, AJ's name is cleared, the storyline is done, hallelujah. It was incredibly predictable. It wasn't a great ending or even a really good ending, but at least it was an ending. Though one has to wonder what Kaz and Daniel's ultimate goal was in all this. Even if the lawyer never showed up, if Claire wasn't actually pregnant, then the truth was about to come out anyway, so how did they expect to get around that? I mean, how are they gonna... I don't know. I'm probably overthinking this. But hey, it's done. The storyline is finished, Claire Lynch is gone, let's just be grateful for that and move on. Yes! Oh goody, Hulk Hogan was back to put himself over again. Oops, I mean to take revenge on the Aces and Eights. You could see how I would get those things mixed up. You see, Sting confronts 3 of them backstage, because whereas before no one could find these guys, this week everyone could somehow find them quite easily. Just roll with it. So Sting distracts them, Hogan sneaks up behind them and takes out all 3 of them with one swipe of a baseball bat. Because while the Aces and Eights were huge badasses before, now they could be taken out 3 at a time, just like that, by a 60-year-old man. Just roll with it. And then, get this, and then Sting, and Hogan for that matter, does the most suspicious thing yet. The thing that, more than anything else so far, points to him being behind the Aces and Eights when he chooses not to unmask them when they're unconscious.
This is ridiculous, man, any way you look at it.
He could have found out who they were. He could have tried to make them talk and maybe found out who they all were, including who's behind all this, most likely. But instead, Sting just left them there with their masks on. Really, Sting? You weren't curious at all? Not even a little bit? Really? Really?
Really?
So you've basically got 2 choices here, TNA writers. Either Sting is the leader of the Aces and Eights, or he's just the stupidest fucking general manager on Earth. Those are the choices, guys. There's no middle ground here. There's no option C. It's one or the other. Take your fucking pick. Sting being the guy behind all this is the only thing that would possibly explain him taking complete and utter managerial incompetence to new levels like he has in the last few weeks. Because any intelligent person in his position probably could have stopped the Aces and Eights 3 or 4 times by now. I'm just saying.
This whole show violates everything about my journalistic integrity.
Chris Louis, gut check. We learned a lot about him from his interview. Hard luck case, wrestling got him on the right path, trying to provide for his family, blah, blah, blah. I thought this part came off pretty well. He was genuine, his talking skills seemed alright, and he came off as a pretty sympathetic guy. But here's what I think happened. I think the sympathy factor is what got him this chance. I think Al Snow was touched or inspired by his story and wanted to throw the guy a bone, and that's why he was there. But we're not judging on sympathy here. We're judging on quality of performance. And his performance in this match, not good. This guy really shouldn't have been put on TV. His execution was sloppy, he wasn't in very good shape, didn't appear to be very athletic, had no ring presence. Apparently on the Backstage Pass show, he was gassed out all to hell, and that's after wrestling for like 2 minutes. I mean, Taz was trying to be nice about it, but he was obviously not impressed either. Based on that match, I vote no 100%. And if TNA want this gut check process to be taken seriously, the judges need to vote no next week too. I could maybe see them voting yes just to piss off Joey Ryan, but they really shouldn't. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him in just so they could vote no on him and reinforce that not everybody gets signed in the gut check, and contestants have to bring their A game. And hey, look, you had a hard life. I sympathize, man. I really do. I hope everything works out for you. But it's go hard or go home. You know, TNA is trying to run a business here, and if you can't perform at a high level, if you don't look the part, you're kind of shit out of luck. Bully Ray versus Ken Anderson. Probably the best match of the night, minus one sloppy spot. A lot of uncharacteristically sloppy spots in the matches this week for some reason. Anyway, a solid match otherwise, but the finish was stupid. Anderson wins the match by pinfall. Pinfall? That makes absolutely no sense. I think this was his last match in the BFG series, right? He was 10 points away from the Final Four. To make the Final Four, he needed to win by submission, because winning by submission gets you 10 points. So why was he even going for a pinfall here? In his position, winning by pinfall was the same as losing the match. Either way, he's out of the tournament. Seemed like a really careless oversight by the writers there.
I was a war correspondent, and now I'm covering this!
And so, after all these pre-tapes throughout the night of the Aces and Eights being attacked backstage by damn near everyone on the roster, we have this huge confrontation between these two warring factions to close the show. Suddenly, the Aces and Eights start coming out of the woodwork, and it erupts into this huge-ass brawl. It was actually very reminiscent of the Riot from 2009, I believe. You know, I don't think it was quite as good as that one was, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. Even though Mike Tenay still sounded really bored. Just total chaos, bodies all over the place, and it felt really natural because this had been earned after like 2 months of build-up. This goes on for a while. They devoted a good chunk of time to this, and the end comes when the Aces and Eights isolate Austin Aries in the ring and destroy his arm. You know, Bully Ray, of all people, runs them off, so now there's the tease that he might be behind all this. And I actually think it would be pretty damn cool if it was Bully Ray. Anyone but Jarrett. Anyone but Jarrett. Anyone but Jarrett. A hell of a way to end the show, and it gives us some great new cliffhangers. The only real drawback here, and unfortunately it's a pretty big one, is that once again, Austin Aries, your world champion TNA, was completely shoved into the background. So much so that when he was attacked at the very end there, it didn't have the impact that it should have had because Aries hasn't been made to look important lately. Now, if it had been Aries leading the charge, with the whole roster following him instead of Sting, that would have been different. And by all rights, that's how all this should have gone. But instead, they just throw Sting into the spotlight again. Because God knows that's not counterproductive at all in 2012, is it?
Oh, what a bunch of bull.
Now, I'm not going to criticize this decision too much. It obviously paid off ratings-wise. Highest viewership of the year. Congratulations, TNA. But if it were me, I would take a potential hit in the ratings now if it meant putting the product in a better position to get ratings in the future. And having Sting be the center of attention again doesn't do that. That pretty much does the exact opposite. So TNA, Dynamite final segment. Great job there. But please put some focus back on your world champion, goddammit. Kind of a hard show to review this week. The opening was great, the final segment was awesome, the hour main event segment was good as a way to hastily wrap up the Claire Lynch soap opera, even if it was a big missed opportunity that they never got to that Maury Povich type angle. I liked Anderson Bully Ray and the potential storyline with Tara and Tessmacher, but I really wasn't feeling the rest of it. And this was the first month that the gut check just felt like a waste of time, and back-to-back segments with the Robbies? Fuck that shit. That'll be all for this week. Tune in next time. Until then, over, out.